Hello, I'm James Ingram. This video was digitized from a 1992 videotape series named V9202.
Publication P8811, returning to that again, on page 19 has a section in the rear titled Suggested Checkout Steps. This part right here says verifying DC track power connections. So what we'll do now is hook the block up and basically try to follow the format as laid out in this publication for checking out the block. What we've got here now is the block set up with a short section of track on both the front end up here and the back end back there. Track power is connected in front of the block. You can't really see it, but right in front of the engine up here where I'm pointing, we're feeding track power into the block. So power essentially enters a block from the front and then goes through the block circuitry, but the track connections are up here. And again, just to review slightly, this is our on-off section from here back to here. I didn't point this out earlier, but the white things here essentially are the 1015U tracks, which is the single isolating track which has the gap in the right rail, which is what permits the blocks to be done, having the gap in the rail. So this is the on-off section from here to here, and then from here back to here is the slowdown section. Again, another gap in the right rail to define this slowdown section. Then defining the end of the slowdown section is another 1015U, and if this was in the layout, there would be more track back here. The AC power is not connected up at all, just the DC power. We're just going to verify the DC part. Basically what this publication says is pull the arm out on the rear switch motor, which would be putting the block into the green state, and I've done that. You'll take my word for it. It doesn't really show up, but this arm is out, which puts the block into the green state. In the green state, the on-off section should be on, and the slowdown section should also be on at full voltage, so the train should be able to be backed back and forth over the block without any slowdown effect. And let's just demonstrate that. I put the engine on with a sound car. Probably the easiest way to sense what voltage it's getting is just to listen to the sound from the sound car. Notice as this engine travels over both the the on-off section and the slowdown section with no loss of voltage. Let me demonstrate that by just turning the engine on and pushing it backwards. Notice that both those sections of track, there's no noticeable loss of engine power because they're both at full voltage. Now let's manually put the block, let's manually change the block from the red state, let's manually change it from the green state to the red state by pushing this arm in, which through the circuitry connected to the 1203 points will now turn this completely off, that is, turn the on-off section to completely off, and reduce the voltage in the slowdown section. Notice when the engine hit the on-off section, which is now off, it lost power completely. If we continue pushing it back to the rear, when it gets to the slowdown section, it'll pick up partial power. You can see the engine's operating, but it's getting reduced voltage because it's in the slowdown section. And as I mentioned earlier, we can vary this voltage in the slowdown section by adjusting the rear rheostat, which I'll now demonstrate. by adjusting that rear rheostat, I can vary the resistance going to the slowdown section anywhere from 0 ohms, i.e. no resistance, to the maximum this rheostat has, which is 10 ohms. So being able to vary this voltage in the slowdown section allows us to kind of tune the slowdown speed to the type of locomotive. And again, notice as the engine hits the on-off block, it stops. Now, if I manually force this rear switch motor from the red state to the green state, notice the engine will start up. The next page on P8811 talks about verifying the AC connections. AC power is not connected at the moment, but I can do so by hooking up the Radio Shack connectors here. Now I have AC power to the block. We can verify the connections of the AC power quite quickly as soon as I grab a magnet off the bottom of this engine. This engine has a magnet on the bottom. I'm just basically unsnap this magnet. Now I've got the magnet in my hand that would normally be on the bottom of the locomotive. The block is now in the green state. When an engine with a magnet passes over track contact T1, which is the one mounted right here on the block, it sets the block to the red state. And notice as I bring this magnet down, you can see the arm, I think on the switch motor here by my hands, that arm will go to the down position, which changes the color from green to red. The other activity which you couldn't see, which again you have to take my word for it, this rear switch motor moves from the out position to the in position towards the track, which is what turns the circuitry off. To verify the other track contact, which is T2, which I've got in my hand here, if I bring the magnet down next to this track contact, it'll change the block back from the red. It'll change the block from the red state back to the green state. And notice when I did that, this thing changed from red to green, and the arm came from the lower to the upper position. And back here, the arm moved to the outside position, that is out away from the track, which puts the circuitry in the green state and turns these blocks on.